In some sense, the most interesting observation is not any specific one, but the meta observation that deep learning just keeps working for anything we throw at it. The miracle of the whole field is that we have any algorithm, any approach whatsoever that can learn. And once you have that, imperfect though it may be, inefficient though it may be, if you can learn, everything else that you need emerges. So in that sense, the miracle is behind us.
And a massive transformative purpose is what you're telling the world. It's like, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do, this is the dent I'm going to make in the universe.
Hey everyone, this is Nick. I'm Peter's producer. The team and I were chatting recently about ChatGPT and so many beautiful advancements in AI, and we thought this would be the perfect time to share Peter's conversation with Sam Altman. If you don't know, Sam is the CEO of OpenAI, and Peter and Sam, they sat down in early 2021 to chat at the A360 Summit about artificial intelligence, technology, and the future of the world. The conversation's incredible, and if you're looking to find out more about A360, feel free to go to a360.com. And enjoy the episode.
First of all, I love your book collection. I'm just looking at Nexus and Dune and Ender's Game. Definitely, it's my 9-year-old. You just read exactly those 3 books. Well, not Nexus. It's a little bit young for him to read Nexus right now. Where are you today in the planet, Sam?
San Francisco.
Sam. Oh, welcome back. Great to have you back.
Yeah.
So first off, congrats on incredible job with Y Combinator and with OpenAI.
Thank you.
So, first question for you, and we're going to do about 20 minutes of a fireside here and then invite for 20 minutes our member questions. Could you share some of the exciting milestones you've had with OpenAI in the last year, 12, 24 months, and what they mean for you?
Sure. Starting last summer, we released GPT-3. That was sort of our first really publicly available product in a significant way. We had done public demos before, but this was something that people can and do really use. GPT-3 is the first, in my opinion, truly general purpose AI system that's been made available, powerful general purpose AI system that's been available for general use. We made it available through an API. It is a text model that can do a surprising amount of things. There's many things it can't do. There's many things a human could easily do that it can't do at all. But it is good enough to really be useful, one model for a pretty wide range of tasks. And I think it's always hard to talk about precisely what it means for a system to have conceptual understanding. But certainly this system has the feel, the appearance in some cases of having that, which I think lets it be sort of a new sort of computing platform that just hasn't existed before. In the same way that when the iPhone came out, you could sort of build things you just couldn't have thought of before. I think now GPT-3 is just the first tiny glimmer in this direction, but we are near to a lot of systems that will let people build things that just weren't possible before. More recently, we released some systems called DALL-E and Clip, which are multimodal systems that can create images from text, combine sort of very fanciful combinations, and much of the time make a pretty reasonable representation. That's DALL-E, and then Clip is a system that goes in the other direction. But I think, again, comes up with some of these zero-shot image capabilities that systems just haven't had before that I think are super exciting.
So, folks are looking at GPT-3 and they're saying, how far are we away from, general AI intelligence? And 2 points here. Number one, there was a mission that you co-founded OpenAI to do along with Elon. And
yeah.
Could you just state that mission for the purpose of the conversation?
Yeah, very simple. The mission is to build AGI, figure out how to deploy it safely to the world, and spread maximum benefit to everyone. So we want to make sure that AGI kind of goes in the good direction, not the bad one. Everything we possibly can to get that to go that way. And then we want to make sure that the benefits of it are equitably shared. And so we kind of have a unique structure to hopefully make that happen.
So, artificial general intelligence, AGI, the concern obviously is if it's developed by a negative force, it has difficult consequences and it's hard to catch up. Is it the sense that if you develop it first, you can steer it in the right direction and it becomes the dominant player?
Yeah, I think if you you don't, of course, get to totally control in any way what people do, but I think you get to provide some steering force if you're kind of out in front.
Yeah.
I think you see this happen across the history of technology. And I think you even see a version of this with GPT-3, which is we set some norms that are now generally being followed. And also there's a lot of people trying to copy GPT-3 and create similar products, which I think is good. So I think there's like all of these effects if you are sort of out in the lead that do affect what many other people do much of the time.
So GPT-3 is on a very limited beta. When do you think it would be available for entrepreneurs, CEOs to start using in some form? Or
we were totally overwhelmed by the amount of demand there was. I mean, we view GPT-3 in the sort of the YC model of ship a V1 you're quite embarrassed about.
Yeah.
And we were quite embarrassed about it. It has lots of problems. We've been making it much better, but the first release was sort of weak and had severe limitations. We were so overwhelmed by the amount of demand we had, given what our assessment of the quality of the product was, that we were totally unprepared to serve everybody who wanted to be a customer. That said, so we got, we launched it and then turned around a couple weeks later, had 100,000 signups and it kept going. That said, we've gotten more compute. We've built more sort of automated tooling. We're making pretty good progress through the list. I don't want to predict a date that we're totally caught up, but I don't think it's like super far away.
Hey, thanks for listening to Moonshots and Mindsets. I want to take a second to tell you about a company that I love. It's called Levels, and it helps me be responsible for the food that I eat, what I bring into my body. See, we were never designed as humans to eat as much sugar as we do, and sugar is not good for your brain or your heart or your body in general. Levels helps me monitor the impact of the foods that I eat by monitoring my blood sugar. For example, I learned that if I dip my bread in olive oil, it blunts my glycemic response, which is good for my health. If you're interested, learn more by going to levels.link/Peter. Levels will give you an extra 2 months of membership. It's something that is critical for the future of your longevity. All right, let's get back to the conversation in the episode.
So we've got members here from around the world in a wide range of industries. Could you maybe talk to us some of the use cases of what GPT-3 and its follow-on progeny? What do you think the most important use cases are going to be?
Things that I've seen evidence of that I'm personally excited about. Not again, long way out till we can really do this at a level where I think it's like, wow, this is incredible. But we'll get there. I think some sort of AI tutor that can teach you anything that you want to learn. Eventually, that will be great. I think some sort of AI like life coach or therapist, something like that, an AI medical advisor. We've seen indications of already with GPT-3. Those are some that jump to mind as things that I'm personally really excited to get.
Yeah, I know you have some slides to share with us. Do you want to go through those?
Sure. I think we were just going to share some examples of sort of what DALL-E could do, and I think that also points to some interesting things.
Yeah, please. Let's go ahead. We'll if our AV team wants to advance those, or I can. Let's see here. So I showed the ability for DALL-E to sort of interpret the other half of an image. If you could, so I have up on the screen here,
So I actually can't. I think that says like the middle one says something like an armchair in the shape of an avocado.
Yes.
And then above it, it's like an illustration of a
storefront that
baby daikon in a tutu walking a dog. So these are like generated images off of those text strings. And this is something that a year and a half ago I would have said was quite far off. The ability to I would have some trouble. I'm like a terrible artist, so I would have a lot of trouble. But even if I could draw, I would still have some trouble saying like, what should an armchair in the shape of an avocado?
Yeah, the third one here says a storefront that has a word OpenAI written on it. So literally,
yeah, the model learned without us ever training it. The model learned how to do text pretty well.
So the implications of this, because for folks to really appreciate this, what is the model actually doing here?
At the highest level, it's GPT-like in its structure, which is it's trying to predict the most likely. It gets to like look at a lot of images, and then it's like trying to predict the most likely next pixel in sort of a set of pixels. Or it's more complicated than that, but that's basically what it's doing, and it's able to spit out these coherent images. They combine concepts in novel ways, or at least have the appearance of doing that. And importantly, because like this is important to human intelligence too, it's now able to do that across multiple modalities. And so the underlying representations, it can move between text and imagery, eventually audio, video, things like that, like a human does.
And how long is it
I think
taking?
this is like a significant step in that sense.
Sure. How long is it taking to generate this when you give it a text string?
Oh, it takes a while to train the model, but then the sort of any given generation is fast.
Let me just flip through some of these here. The bottom is the exact same cat on top of a sketch on the bottom. So
Yes, sometimes the prompts, the text that works the best is sort of like awkwardly phrased. This is a good example of that. But if you can get it right, sort of if you can get it in a way that the model understands, it can then sort of apply these. It can take a concept like a sketch and apply it to anything you want.
can you explain how different is this from AGI? So I was listening to quite different, right? So, but just for folks to say, oh my God, this is the Turing test is being passed and AGI is here, because there's been a lot of hype about GPT-3. Could you sort of set the record straight there?
I think we have a very long way to go to AGI in the way that it's usually described. I think it's easy to get ahead of ourselves. I've gone through this myself many times, where I've been like blown away by a system that we've built, and then the more I really come to understand its limitations, you sort of see through the veil, and you're like, it's really not understanding this. It's really not doing this. It is possible that we're just going to create a very alien intelligence that thinks in a very different way than humans do, and is much worse at some things and much better at others. And that, I guess that could be sooner, but I think AGI, in the way that most people talk about it, which is a system that can have human-like curiosity, deep understanding, ability to reason, like long way.
But at the same time, we're starting to see. Can you talk to the implications of GPT-3 and its analogs and its follow-ons for medicine? I think it's you said therapists, but what else? Where are you seeing sort of other implications?
There was I saw something on Twitter last week where someone had struggled with this medical condition for like 30-something years. Doctors hadn't been able to do it, and eventually, just quite recently, someone figured it out, fixed him up, and he's great. But he had like 30-something years of suffering. He typed in all of his symptoms into GPT-3 and got correctly diagnosed. Now, I wouldn't recommend using GPT-3 as a doctor. Certainly not. But because it would get that wrong a lot too. And I think one of our biggest challenges is like getting the model to tell you something when it knows it, and be understanding when it doesn't, and understand when it doesn't and tell you it doesn't. But even seeing glimmers of that is quite exciting. And imagining a system that could provide basically free medical advice to almost everyone and be pretty good, that's an exciting thing.
Do you see it coming into power in research? And we both share a common passion for longevity-related research. Do you see it playing there, helping us understand why?
For sure. We've definitely seen interesting use cases of how researchers are using it already. I think it's also inspired people to take a more direct life science approach with a GPT-3-like model, and hopefully that works.
Mm-hmm. You've made some damn good and very notable predictions about the pace at which AI is unfolding and what's possible. One of the things I'm focused on with the members here is helping them imagine a 10-year roadmap for themselves. And I think the use of AI is critical in every single business, period. Could you give us a sense of what you see over the next 10 years? What can't be done now that you think might be possible and amazing in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the fundamental building block 10 years from now is that we will have systems that at least for all practical purposes, we will have systems that you can talk to and they can understand you and they can do things that you ask them to do. And so that kind of sci-fi computing platform, where you just like talk to a computer and it does what you want, I think that's going to happen, and that's like as big as the internet in some sense.
Would it be fair to say AI embedded everywhere in everything? Your kid's toy, your door, your refrigerator.
I think that gets to the definition of AI. Certainly, everyone will say that AI is embedded in everything. Yeah. That claim will be made.
But your ability to have a conversation with objects around you, whether it's a system that is porting through them, but being able to just go from mind to intention.
Yeah. I mean, just the ability to say hey, I need you to do this, whatever thing, and have that be a very broad set of tasks, super broad set of tasks.
Yeah, I mean, looking at DALL-E, I mean, one of the things I've talked about is right now, if you want to 3D print something, you need to understand how to write in the proper toolpaths and so forth. But we're going to have a situation in the future where you can just say, I'm wearing your AR, VR goggles, give me something with a handle on it that's warm, make it super cheap, make it being able to simulate, and be able to describe what you want, go from a mental image to having not only a visual of it, but then say print and have it figure out where to go and manufacture the cheapest, fastest, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you can imagine a not very distant future where you stand in you basically have a Star Trek holodeck experience. And if you want to design an object, you say, show me something like this, and it comes up, and then you're spin it around for me. No, change this, change that. Make it this color. No, I want it to look this other way. And you kind of can just interact. And again, the computer's understanding the concepts of what you're talking about and doing what you want.
And just again for everybody watching here, I can imagine that being in designing your house or your clothing or whatever you want, being able to go from a descriptive what you have in your mind to a physical instantiation of it, or its creation, or it being found for you. So it's the velocity. Yeah. It's fascinating. When you look at the recent breakthroughs in deep learning, like Mu0, what are you seeing in other approaches and companies and interesting implications, applications there?
In some sense, the most interesting observation is not any specific one, but the meta observation that deep learning just keeps working for anything we throw at it. And it's all of these very different approaches. I think my takeaway there, at least, is the miracle of the whole field is that we have any algorithm, any approach whatsoever that can learn. And once you have that, imperfect though it may be, inefficient though it may be, if you can learn, everything else that you need emerges. So in that sense, the miracle is behind us.
So this is a function of sheer computational power, yes?
I don't think it's quite fair to say that. That's definitely a big part of it. But yeah, we make surprisingly predictable algorithmic progress every year too.
And is it accelerating or is it just constant? What's your gut tell you?
Really hard to say when you only have a couple of years worth of data, if it's sort of linear or exponential. I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's talk about AI human collaboration. So there's lots of fear about AI replacing us and that dystopian future. But right now, for me, it's really how do we collaborate with AI this decade and really enable us to make our dreams come true? What are you saying about that area?
Yeah, I mean, I think GPT-3 provides the first glimmer into that, which is where there's this system, and sometimes it really feels like you are collaborating with a partner to figure something out or accomplish something, and certainly you can see that in some of the services people have built. So I'm very excited for that future. When people talk about the merge, they mostly mean plugging things into your brain some way or other. But there's another version of this, which is we all sort of have an AI alter ego that grows up with us and learns about us and is thinking about us all the time and making whatever we need available. And I think GPT-3 shows the tiniest glimmer in that direction.
I've thought about and said we're going to have an AI software shell. It's the equivalent of Jarvis from Iron Man that allows you to translate into languages, allows you to hop into a Black Hawk helicopter and fly it, even though how.
Yeah.
How far are we away from that version of Jarvis, if you would, if Jarvis is not an AGI?
Oh, probably pretty far, but I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so longevity will get us there if you don't get us there quicker. We're about to go to your questions, so please put them in the app, and then we'll be taking a 2-minute break after that to take notes, and you can, of course, take notes as we're going along. One more question, Sam, from me, and then we'll go to the community here. You recently asked the internet what tiny, non-existent markets today will be $1 trillion market in the next 10 to 20 years, which I found a fascinating question. I'm curious.
Yeah, I needed some new investment ideas. I've been so focused on OpenAI, I haven't thought about this in a while.
So what were the top ideas? What's your top ideas? What are the $1 trillion markets we haven't thought about or heard about yet?
Well, you mentioned longevity. I think there will be $1 trillion longevity company. I think there will be $1 trillion AI company, or I think that will be a market that
multi-trillion
$1 trillion market, like an AI meaning like true general purpose AI. I hope that in that kind of time frame, there will be $1 trillion nuclear fusion market.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this episode. I'll tell you about something I've been doing for years. Every quarter or so, having a phlebotomist come to my home to draw bloods to understand what's going on inside my body. And it was a challenge to get all the right blood draws and all the right tests done. So I ended up co-founding a company that sends a phlebotomist to my home to measure 40 different biomarkers every quarter, put them up on a dashboard so I can see what's in range, what's out of range, and then get the right supplements, medicines, peptides, hormones to optimize my health. It's something that I want for all my friends and family, and I'd love it for you. If you're interested, go to mylifeforce.com/Peter to learn more. Let's get back to the episode.
The first question is from Carl Caslett. Carl, if you'd unmute yourself, welcome back for your 4th year. Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Sam, for sharing with us today. I've actually been a follower of OpenAI, and I think one of those that have been sitting on that list since the first day you announced GPT-3 to be a part of the beta there. And so that actually leads to my question is, for Peter and Sam both, what's the likelihood of this community, and particularly the A360 group, getting access to some of your tools that are still in private beta, such as GPT-3?
Again, if we could figure out a way to get enough resources in place, and that's like compute, people, money, everything, to make it widely available and do it in a way that we were confident we had good enough monitoring in place to do that safely, we would. And we are, I hope, not that far away from it. So we're trying to get there soon. And I don't think it'll be that much longer. Right now we have sort of a complicated prioritization system where we're trying to optimize for inviting people that will sort of do new things that we don't already have covered, so we can learn as much as possible about these models, or that sort of somehow otherwise fit like some goal that we're trying to accomplish and learn about. But yeah, hopefully not too much longer.
I have an email ready to fire up to ask you for access, but I appreciate that. Next question will go to Jason English, also a 4th year member. Jason, where are you on the planet? Dubai?
Yeah, hi Peter, Dubai. Hi Sam. Hi community. So my question is we've converted. We've got a traditional business, 25 years old, and all that data has been put into a cloud-based system, basically Google Drives now. Do you know of any AIs or any programs that can scrape that data? We don't know what Peter always says. If you want the right answer, ask the right question. But I don't know what question to ask. And so I'm trying to figure out how do I get value out of the data that's sitting on these platforms?
I don't feel qualified to answer that. I would expect there'd be something you could try with GPT-3 that would help, but I am far enough away from that to not be confident.
But Jason, if you send me an email, I'll ask around for you.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, next question from Nikolai Visakov, one of our A360 scholars. Nikolai.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for letting me ask this question. And I apologize if it's a little bit more technical than the others, because I was wondering, with Elon Musk being behind both OpenAI and Neurolink, whether there is any syndicate that is planned between the two And what are the implications of that sort of merger between OpenAI and Neuralink, or OpenAI and OpenWater, or any other BCI companies? And why would people working with BCIs like us and our company, why would we go with OpenAI as opposed to some of the other AI tools that are available?
No current plans on any sort of merger there. I do think connecting humans and AGI at some point will be interesting and something that some people choose to do. I have a lot of uncertainty about the way that will go. My guess is that AGI will help us figure out how to do that. And then in terms of your specific thing, obviously you should work with whoever you think is best.
So, Sam, if you're given the option to connect with on a BCI platform, connect your neocortex, would you?
Yeah, probably I would. I mean, not in the first few 100,000 people or 10,000 people, but
oh, come on,
probably eventually.
All right, our next question comes from Stefan Spencer. Stefan, welcome back for your third year, I think. Good to have you.
Thanks. Actually, my question was already answered because I wanted access to GPT-3 as well.
Do you have a follow-on question? What would you use it for?
Well, my MTP is to figure out a way to elevate the consciousness of all of humanity, and I would love to know how GPT-3 could be used for that.
What does MTP mean?
Massively transformative purpose. It's what are you focused on? Yours is AGI accessible and safe.
Yeah. Again, I think we're going to learn that the kind of AGI life coach therapist ability to sort of improve and change the way we think and function is just going to outpace our expectations. So that's probably the first thing I would try.
Thank you, Spencer. Our next question comes from John Montesi, another 3-year member. John, what's your question, my friend?
Oh, hi. And nice to meet you, Sam. I'm so impressed with what you're doing. It's just really incredible. I had a question, just trying to look forward into the future here. Ray Kurzweil is famously on record as saying we will have AI pass the Turing test in 2029 and the singularity in 2045. Do you have a perspective on that?
The definition of both of those getting that super precise becomes important. I mean, there is a version of the Turing test that I think most people would count as a pass, strictly defined, that I think will happen before 2029. And then the singularity, again, I don't think it's like this. I've actually changed what I think about it. I don't think it's this one day, but sort of this medium-sized ramp, and that I try not to make particular time predictions about when it starts, but I think we should certainly be prepared for it starting sooner than 2045.
All right. Thank you, John. We'll go to George next.
Hey, Sam. Switching gears a little bit, you guys built a great brand and community with YC. Just would love to get your thoughts on kind of what's happening with the accelerator, venture studio, startup studio world. Just would love to get your thoughts on that.
To be perfectly honest, I don't track it as closely these days as I used to. Once you really believe that we're going to build AGI, it's hard to think about a lot of other things. But I think YC is, and I say this with as little ego and pride of authorship as possible, is still figured out how to do something that no other version of that has. And for all of the people trying to copy YC, my advice is always if you just sort of copy the winner, it doesn't usually work. You'll be behind. You're on the wrong side of the network effect, the brand, the community, whatever. Is there something that you can think of that maybe with AI that can do a totally different approach, either way more scale, a different selection thing, a different way you advise the companies? Maybe someone should this is just thinking off the top of my head, make a GPT-3 startup advisor. But I think that my rough view of the landscape is still YC is super, super far ahead of anything else.
What were some of the stats from YC? How many companies unicorn status came out of YC? It's some ridiculous number.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't calculated it recently, but there was one point where YC was like funding like half of all like US tech unicorns, which is a ridiculous thing to be possible.
Yeah.
To be able to like fund these companies when there are 2 or 3 people in an
I think
idea.
that's so smart what you said.
I doubt it's still that high.
But copying the leader simply means you're in second place, or at least nth place, instead of coming up with a new business model that's possible.
But there may be something like really, YC was like a transformatively different idea, and there may be one, and I always encourage people to try to go find that.
Fantastic. All right, Claire, who's our next question? Let's go to Fred Marshall. Fred, what's your question? No, you're muted, Fred.
It's a little bit more basic. For an ordinary person who doesn't understand AI, where can I go to learn about it and then apply it in practical ways to my business?
Very frustrating that I don't think I have a good resource to recommend for you. This is like a question I've tried to answer other times, and I don't like. Someone should really go write this book or even this long internet article. There isn't, at least or if someone knows of a good one and you could tell me about it, I'd be very grateful. But I don't have something that I could really strongly recommend. And it's a shame and surprising.
So I hear an opportunity for somebody out there. Let's go next to Sasa Krukmar. Sasa.
Hi, Peter. Hi, Sam. So I'm a land surveyor that's gathered probably 150 years worth of survey plans. And I've had this vision where could AI read a plan? And we struggled with just the notion of scanning and actually, from an OCR perspective, figuring out what every element is on a survey plan. So we couldn't even get that done. I guess my question is, do you see any opportunity for AI to read a survey plan that has bars or lines or distances or houses, that type of? So I'm asking very practical thought.
Almost certainly that will work. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Well, you'd need someone to build a custom model for you, but that should be a.
What would be our first steps?
What would be the first step if you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I think you just need to find a good ML engineer that could build a model off of the data that you have and whatever else they can find. And again, that as you describe it, that's the kind of problem that someone who has got some fluency with the technologies here should be able to do.
Yeah. Great.
So I have my 10-year plan then. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. All right, let's go next to Tori Smith. Tori.
Oh, hey guys, Peter, Sam. So I make little tiny pill robots and swallow them down in Redwood City. And our goal initially is just to make a moving eyeball in the stomach, right? But from here, we want to do robotic surgery. We want to scale it down, do microsurgery. And my question is, do you see AI slowly phasing in and kind of letting the doctors take a step back over time? And what would that process look like?
I think it will certainly change what doctors do. But my hope is that it means doctors get to do sort of the more high leverage, the more human facing stuff, and that AI is helpful for a lot of other things. But yeah, it's hard for me to predict exactly how these things are going to roll out.
Before I go to a member question, thank you very much for that, Tori. Sam, I'm just noting a lot of the claims coming out of Google and IBM and out of China on quantum computers. What impact do you imagine quantum computers are going to have in the AI world?
Honestly, I don't spend very much time thinking about that. It's maybe a mistake, but I think we can get pretty far on classical computers.
Okay. Let's go to Tim Hirsch as our next question. Tim.
Nice to be here. My question originally was just what the first questions is, how do we get in on the GPT-3? I don't know much about.
This explains your giant waiting list.
Yeah, and I got that answer.
I'm noticing a theme here.
I'm gonna get on that list.
Do you have a follow-on question, Tim?
I don't. I'm just.
What would you do with it? What would you do with GPT-3 if you had besides play? What business would you want to use it for?
I'm in the packaging business, and we have a lot of manual processes. I'm in the plate making business for, what goes on a printing press, and so there's a lot of opportunities for learning what something should look like without a human having to look at it in the quality assurance process. Interpreting what it sees with a camera and matching it up.
Sam, along those lines, have you seen anybody proposing using of GPT-3 and its analogs for financial investments in terms of predicting what a stock move is going to do next?
I know people have looked at that. GPT-3 itself is not very good at sort of like time series things, but other people have models that they claim are, and it feels to me like it should be doable. So I think that's like worth considering.
Great. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
We'll go to Adrian Walty next. Adrian.
Hi, Peter. Hi, Sam. Thanks. My question is, I understand how AI can deal with increasing level of complexities through self-learning, deep learning, etc. Where are limits when it comes to dealing with new stuff, unknown things, and when will we be able to use AI to drive innovation, creative processes and the like, where you cannot rely on, let's say, known patterns, experience and the like?
Yeah, with our current system, certainly one of the many limitations is this idea to come up with genuinely new ideas and not put together existing knowledge in new ways. And I think it's a super important question. It's one that I think about a lot. I don't have an answer yet. If I did, we'd be building it. But we got to figure that out. It feels to me like it should be possible, and may just emerge even.
Sam, how big is OpenAI right now, the number of people associated with it?
Like 150 or so.
It's incredible what you're doing with such a relatively small number of individuals.
Thank you. Yeah. Maybe it's because of that, not in spite of it.
I think it's a really important point. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's go next to Xenia Tata, who's the Chief Impact Officer here at XPRIZE.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. So when humans solve problems, we approach that with curiosity, inherent risk, biases, etc. You talk about alien AI, you talk about DeepMind that has no training and yet can solve problems. What are the neural pathways you're seeing? So how does AI actually approach problems in a completely different way from humans?
You should look up something called OpenAI microscope. I think it is an examination of a neural network trying to really see what's going on there. It will be hard to explain in this format, but it is really worth reading up on that. I think it's the most complete examination I have seen of what you're talking about.
Great, thank you.
Brad Hart, you're next. Please unmute.
Hello. Hi, Dr. Peter, and thanks so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. Sam, thank you so much for sharing with us. And one of my favorite things to do is mastermind. So this is great for me. It really lights me up. And one of the things we always do at masterminds is we ask, you've given so much value to us. How can we support you back? What are the connections, resources, opportunities, and support that you need in order to move your mission forward faster?
A big one will be figuring out how we get a lot of human feedback into these models. We get some from the API, but we'll want more, and we're definitely going to be calling on the world to help with us, like help teach our models at some point, but I'm not sure when that will start yet. But thank you for the question.
Thanks so much, Brad. Mr. Murphy, you're next.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sam. Do you see anything, Sam, in the IT security space? There's a lot of complexity. I know there's a lot of ML work that's been done. I'm in the IT security arena, and I'm just always trying to just strip out the marketing hype versus reality. But we have this unique thing now. We have digital viruses and we have biological viruses, and I'm looking for ways to deal with complexity. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are regarding IT security and the use of GPT-3 for the future.
My instinct is that AI will at some point be a big deal for finding and defending against vulnerabilities. I haven't seen anyone do it yet in a way where I'm like, all right, this is something that everyone's got to pay attention to. yeah, instinct is it will happen. And it's like a very good area to watch.
Thank you.
Awesome. We have one last question, but I want to insert one here. It's a race in one sense, Sam, between the positive use of AI and the empowerment of entrepreneurs. You know, you more than anybody understand the ability of entrepreneurs to solve problems, right? The more entrepreneurs solving, the more problems the world gets better, and the dystopian use of AI. How are you feeling about that two-horse race so far?
I'm very optimistic, always. So good. I think it's like worth paying a lot of attention to.
Yeah. So good. I appreciate the.
I think when you ask a question like that to someone, you do get some data, but you get like a dice roll that's like heavily weighted by their personal optimism versus pessimism thing, and you've always got to like look at that. And so I think it should just be mentioned that I'm like a very optimistic person.
Yeah. I mean, I do, and we talk about the abundance mindset here more than any place, which is the power we have to solve problems, and increasing ability to create more and more wealth in the world. We'll go to our last question from Babs Smith. Babs, pleasure to have you here.
Hi, I forget the exact question I asked, but most of my questions are pretty basic. And like, for instance, one that I'm sure the resource is out there and I just don't know how to access it. People have been talking about, like Watson and the natural language interpretation and analysis. And that's pretty basic. That's already out there, right? You're in the kind of stratosphere of the future, but where would I go to be able to run the answers to a whole bunch of questions that our clients have answered through natural language analysis?
So natural language search and the ability to come up with an answer based upon a person's query, based upon a given body of existing knowledge, yes?
Yeah, that sort of thing, yes. Or just to be able to aggregate how many people are asking this similar questions and stuff like that.
I don't know. I would guess there is some product like that out there, but I haven't seen it. I'm in this sort of like weird place of having just these like such narrow interests and like trying to be hyper focused on doing this one thing that I kind of ignore a lot of what other people are doing just in the spirit of focus. So, I feel like there should be an answer there, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Thank you, Babs.
That's great. I mean,
sorry to not be helpful.
That you were focused in other areas, and I'm kind of focused on the try to move from here to here in little steps. But I'm sure there's people out there.
Yeah, I think there must be.
Thank you,
Sam. Thank you for joining. Grateful for the work, and I'll be...
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'll be hopping on the list as well. Everyone, this is Peter again. Before you take off, I want to take a moment to just invite you to subscribe to my weekly tech blog. Today, over 200,000 people receive this email twice per week. In the tech blog, I share with you my insights on converging exponential technologies, what's going on in AI, how longevity is transforming, adding decades to our life. In the tech blog, I often look at the 20 meta trends that are going to transform the decade ahead and share the conversations I've had with incredible tech thought leaders on how they're transforming industries. If that sounds cool to you and you want to try it, join me. Go to diamandis.com/blog, enter your email, and let's start this weekly conversation. Let me share with you the incredible progress we're seeing in the world of technology and the positive impact it's having on our lives. Again, that's diamandis.com/blog. Looking forward to sharing my insights and incredible breakthroughs I'm seeing with you every single week.